Have you ever wondered why some people work incredibly hard, build a business from nothing, and yet never manage to scale beyond a small operation, while others grow companies into global giants? Very often, the difference is not intelligence, talent, or effort. It is structure. It is how the business is legally and financially designed from the beginning. Most CFA candidates underestimate this topic. They look at organizational forms of business and think, this is basic, I can just memorize it the night before. Then they enter the exam, and suddenly they are confused between limited partnerships, limited liability partnerships, private companies, and public corporations, and they lose marks that they should never have lost. Today we are going to fix that. Hi, I'm Zac Kwon, and welcome to Career to C-Suite, the channel where we break down business, finance, and professional skills so you can move from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. In this video, we are going to master one of the most fundamental topics in the CFA curriculum, organizational forms of business. By the end of this lesson, you will clearly understand how different business structures work, how they affect risk and returns, and why they matter so much for financial analysts, investors, and executives. Let's begin by understanding why this topic matters in the first place. Before we talk about definitions and legal forms, we need to understand the bigger picture. As a financial analyst, you are constantly evaluating companies. You are assessing their risks, their growth potential, their financing options, and their long-term sustainability. And one of the most important factors behind all of that is how the company is structured. The legal form of a business affects how easily it can raise money, how much risk its owners face, how profits are taxed, how decisions are made, and how conflicts are resolved. That is why the CFA curriculum places this topic under corporate issuers. It is not just legal theory, it directly affects valuation, governance, and investment decisions. In most market economies, organizations can be grouped into three broad categories: for-profit businesses, non-profit organizations, and governments. However, in this module, we focus mainly on businesses, because financial analysts primarily interact with companies in capital markets. And businesses in general come in three main legal forms. They are sole proprietorships, partnerships, and limited companies. You can think of these forms as a progression from simple to complex, from high personal risk to lower personal risk, and from limited growth potential to large-scale expansion. Let's go through them one by one. The simplest form of business organization is the sole proprietorship. In a sole proprietorship, one individual owns the business, manages the business, and provides the capital needed to operate the business. There is no legal separation between the owner and the business itself. This means that, in the eyes of the law, the business and the owner are essentially the same person. If the business makes profits, the owner receives all of them. If the business suffers losses, the owner bears all of them. If the business cannot repay its debts, creditors can pursue the owner's personal assets. This includes savings, property, and other personal wealth. From a tax perspective, profits from a sole proprietorship are treated as personal income and taxed accordingly. From a financing perspective, sole proprietorships have very limited options. They usually rely on personal savings, personal loans, or family support. This form is common among small shops, freelancers, independent consultants, and family-owned businesses. People choose this structure because it is simple, flexible, and inexpensive to set up. However, it has serious limitations. Growth is constrained by how much capital one person can raise, how much risk one person can tolerate, and how much work one person can handle. This is why very few large corporations begin and remain as sole proprietorships. This form is common among small shops, freelancers, independent consultants, and family-owned businesses. People choose this structure because it is simple, flexible, and inexpensive to set up. However, it has serious limitations. Growth is constrained by how much capital one person can raise, how much risk one person can tolerate, and how much work one person can handle. This is why very few large corporations begin and remain as sole proprietorships. The next level of organization is the partnership. Partnerships allow two or more individuals to pool their resources, share expertise, and divide both profits and risks. Instead of relying on one person, the business now benefits from multiple owners who bring different skills, networks, and financial contributions. There are three main types of partnerships: general partnerships, limited partnerships, and limited liability partnerships. Let's start with general partnerships. In a general partnership, all partners are involved in managing the business, and all partners share responsibility for profits, losses, and obligations. Each partner has unlimited liability. This means that if the business fails and cannot repay its debts, each partner is personally responsible for those debts. If one partner cannot pay, the others must cover the shortfall. Because of this, general partnerships involve significant personal risk. However, they also provide advantages. Compared to sole proprietorships, they have access to more capital, more expertise, and more manpower. General partnerships are common in service-based industries such as construction, consulting, and small professional firms. Limited partnerships were created to reduce some of the risks found in general partnerships. In a limited partnership, there are two types of partners: general partners and limited partners. General partners manage the business and have unlimited liability. Limited partners contribute capital, but do not participate in management and have limited liability. This means that their maximum possible loss is limited to the amount they invested. Their personal assets are protected. This structure is widely used in private equity, venture capital, and real estate funds, where investors want exposure to returns without being involved in daily operations. Partnership agreements in limited partnerships can be very complex and often specify detailed profit-sharing arrangements. In some jurisdictions, there is also the limited liability partnership, or LLP. In an LLP, all partners have limited liability, and there is no general partner who bears unlimited risk. Partners usually share management responsibilities, and one or more managing partners may be appointed. LLPs are especially common in professional services such as law, accounting, and engineering. In many countries, only licensed professionals are allowed to form LLPs. The most important organizational form in modern economies is the limited company. Limited companies combine limited liability with strong governance structures and access to capital markets. They are designed for long-term growth and large-scale operations. There are two main types: private limited companies and public limited companies. In a private limited company, ownership is divided into shares, and shareholders enjoy limited liability. This means that their losses are limited to the amount they invested. There is a clear separation between owners and managers. Shareholders elect a board of directors, and the board appoints professional managers. However, shares in private companies are not freely traded, and there are often restrictions on ownership transfers. Private limited companies are common among startups and growing businesses. They are known by different names in different countries, such as LLC in the United States, GmbH in Germany, and SARL in France. In some jurisdictions, they are treated as pass-through entities for tax purposes. Public limited companies, also known as corporations, represent the highest level of business organization. They have no legal restrictions on the number of shareholders, and their shares can be traded freely on stock exchanges. They feature strong governance systems, including boards of directors, regulatory oversight, and disclosure requirements. This structure allows companies to raise large amounts of capital from the public. As a result, most multinational corporations operate as public companies. However, public companies face one major disadvantage: double taxation. Profits are taxed at the corporate level, and dividends are taxed again at the shareholder level. For this reason, many corporations reinvest profits instead of distributing them. For exam purposes, you should always analyze business structures using 5 key dimensions. First, legal identity. Is the business legally separate from its owners? Second, ownership and management. Who controls decisions? Third, liability. How much personal risk do owners face? Fourth, taxation. Where are profits taxed? Fifth, access to financing. How easily can capital be raised? If you evaluate each structure using these 5 factors, most CFA questions become straightforward. In the real business world, companies rarely remain in one structure forever. Many businesses start as sole proprietorships or partnerships. As they grow, they restructure into private companies. Later, they may become public companies through an initial public offering. Each transition reflects changing needs for capital, risk management, and governance. Understanding this evolution is essential for executives and analysts alike. To summarize, businesses generally operate as sole proprietorships, partnerships, or limited companies. These forms differ in legal identity, liability, taxation, management, and financing capacity. Sole proprietorships are simple but risky. Partnerships allow shared resources but still involve significant risk. Limited companies offer the strongest foundation for growth and investment. If this video helped you understand CFA concepts more clearly, make sure you subscribe to Career to C-Suite. Here, I regularly break down finance, business strategy, and executive skills so you can move faster from student to professional and from professional to leader. Turn on notifications, stay connected, and I'll see you in the next video.